The State Fair Community College Board of Trustee meeting for Thursday, March 27th, 2025. We welcome you. We have some new faces, maybe. College Board of Trustee meeting for Thursday, March 27th, 2025. We welcome. All right. So we welcome those of you that are here, some new faces and some familiar faces. So we will then start with our agenda to have the approval of the agenda.
Moved.
Second.
In favor, say aye. Those same sign. Motion passes. Next on the agenda is citizens' comments. Lisa, do we have any citizens' comments?
We have no citizens' comments.
Thank you. And so now is the time for us to find out some of those faces that are out in the crowd that we may not know. So introduction of new employees.
Turn that over to Dr. Whitehead. She's got the whole bolt.
I have everybody this time. And they put that in order. That's fabulous. April Stevenson, if you'll join me in welcoming April. April is our new financial aid advisor. She hails from Fort Worth, Texas, by way of the U.S. Air Force. She and her husband are stationed at Whiteman. We actually stole her from BTC Bank. So much for community relations. We got her and she's going to do wonderful things for us here. Has some background with higher ed. She worked for an agency that did student housing off campus, right? So we're grateful to have her and her patience, right? That comes with a little bit of that. Terrence Polk. Terrence is Air Force retiree who's finishing a master's in counseling with UVM. Terrence and Lee are both our new admissions advisors, right? So they have already hit the ground running, making contact with students who are in our queue, students who and staff and faculty at the area high schools, and then trying to make connections with other places that we haven't spent a lot of time. If not one, I think both of them were at the correctional center in Boonville, right? So tickled to have them. Terrence was just married, newlywed on March 15th. He's originally from and I giggled because there's a picture of this little janky chihuahua taped to his desk. I thought it was a meme. That's his pet, right? His little hairless dog. That was super fun. Lee, exactly. Lee Lopez. Lee is an Army veteran, originally from Avondale, Arizona. He was actually his post-Army career was as a high school math teacher. And he just got his certification to teach in Missouri as well. Thrilled to have all three of them. April is up to her eyeballs in getting federal student aid certified, and both Terrence and Lee are on the road making connections and getting ready for next academic year.
Welcome.
Glad to have you on the Roadrunner team.
You don't have to stay, right?
Yeah, this is
Welcome to.
Thank you all for the big warm welcome, and I'll take that as my
Next on the agenda is the approval of the February 27th, 2025 board meeting. The minutes were sent out to us previously and is published, so I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Okay, for the warrant for February 2025, I believe, Keith.
During the month of February 2025, the college disbursed $4,753,842. Of that, there was $733,826 to the construction of CAT and the other items in the mass theme here.
Right, I would entertain a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Motion passes. Now we're ready for those students.
All right.
Going on.
Thank you. So we have two of our students here, and our SGA president, Addison, has given up her time so we can, I believe, right? So we can listen, hear from Greg. program as well as the farm. So I'll let you two introduce yourselves and.
You want us to stand at the podium?
Yeah, of course. They only make one of you dance, so. Paper scissors.
I am Kendall Shahan. I'm the SGA representative for the Ag Club and also our treasurer.
And I'm Macy Reed, and I'm the vice president of Ag Club.
We're just gonna talk about some of our events that we have done. January 22nd, we had Ag Industry Basketball Night, and our officer team went around to the local businesses that support us and gave out free tickets for that, and we also recognized them at the basketball game.
Another one of our really big events that we did, we are, I guess I should include that we're a part of the Collegiate Farm Bureau program. So we have a collegiate chapter here at State Fair. And so one of the big events we did through that was we attended the legislative day at the Capitol building. So we brought a really big group to that, I think about 20-ish people. And so we got to connect with some of our state legislators, Senator Sandy Crawford and Representative Pollitt, and as well as getting to meet Mike Kehoe and visit with him a little bit. That was a really great experience for all of us. And we also got to sit in on some hearings and some other things, listen to how it is in court. So it was really interesting, and I was glad to have gone. I learned a lot of good things about that.
We took 3 students to the Young Farmers and Ranchers Conference at the lake, and it was just a great experience. We got to connect with a bunch of people and listen to their stories of how they got in the ag industry. And we got to see different districts and what they all do.
And also a really big event that 2 of our students just got back from over spring break was our National PAS Conference. And PAS stands for Professional Agriculture Students. So we participate in a lot of career building activities like employment interviews, career planning, things like that, just to kind of build your professional skills. So Chesney Early and Wrigley Welty went to that. And they placed in their events, I believe Wrigley placed 2nd and Chesney was 4th. Yeah, they were gone for about a week for that. I think they had a really great time.
Tuesday, we had our first Ag Board event of this month. It was an estate planning panel, and we had 75 to 80 people there, which was a great turnout. And our April one is over conservation. I do not remember the date of that.
Hopefully we'll have a lot of people at that one too. I think that'll be a really great topic as well.
Say March 25th.
Well, that was for April.
Maybe not. April
22nd.
22nd.
Yes.
22nd. I will serve the meeting.
Oh, yeah.
So you'll just also get a meal.
Yeah. And something coming up, our plant sale starts April 28th and runs till the 10th of May, or just until we run out of plants. So keep that in your mind if you guys want to come down and look at what we've been doing in the greenhouse. Do you have anything else? Okay. I'm also going to give a farm update. So I'm one of the student workers that works on the farm with the cattle, as well as Bailey Perkins and Mallory Kruger. But we all work together to take care of the cattle every day. So, I mean, that consists of feeding them every day, monitoring the herd in general, like making sure they always have hay in the hay rings, make sure their minnow feeder is always full. And then in the winter, both of those things, but as well as making sure the waters aren't frozen up, because that's a huge issue for any of fellow cattle people know that for sure. So it's been a really great experience. I've been one of the 3 that have been like the first student workers on the farm since it was just established last year. I've had a really great time implementing my skills from my family's cattle operation at home into helping everybody out on the college farm.
You want to tell everybody how many cattle we have?
Oh, yeah. So we have 28 cows, and they're mostly Black Angus, but we have a couple Red Angus as well. And they've been really great. We've gotten some, I guess recently last year, bought some from Cameron Venters, who's a local farmer for anybody that knows them. And they've been really great. So, I mean, I've had a really great time working.
How many calves?
20. Any other questions for us?
Might share that you all did somehow you worked on a video, because I've watched that video that was.
Yeah,
So
so
get to that.
yeah, good point. Thank you. So for National PAS, one of our instructors, Jennifer Bloss, is the executive director of National PAS. And Merck Animal Health, which is a really big sponsor of PAS, wanted to do like a promotional video to show kind of what Jennifer does here at the college as an instructor. So she invited myself and Chesney to participate in at least the portion of the video that we took on the farm. And I think Dr. Bates shared that on Facebook for anybody that wanted to watch it. But it was a really great opportunity. I've never been in a video like that. They grilled me with lots of questions and things they wanted to know about the farm and such. So it was fun to do. Chesney and I showed them how we fed the cows, and Chesney also helps on the farm every now and then. So we kind of just fed the cows like normal, and they filmed us doing that. And they also filmed us just answering some questions and kind of what we like about our time here at the college or what we like about PAS and things. So it was a good opportunity. And they also viewed some of the horticulture students in the greenhouse as well.
We'll be seeing tonight, so cool for State Fair Community College and for the Ag Department. Part of it.
We'll do so.
Questions you might have with the Ag girls? Thank you so much for sharing.
Yes, thanks for having us.
They do stay busy because they cut that way down. Kendall had a few pages written out of
Yes.
way more things. They are extremely productive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you. That's that.
You certainly can stay, or you.
Actually, I got some feeding at one. Thank you, guys.
24.
Thank you.
Right, so now we're ready for our institutional report.
We do annually, we give a report on our OPEDS data. And of course, we'll be looking at the spring census data, and we do that through our strategic services. And I don't know if this is Becky's first time, and if it's not, it's her first time in a while, but she did a great job the other day at ELT, so.
We had to kick in once to keep. Okay, I'm one of the weird people who loves data, so I like to talk about it. So Mark has already said 15 seconds per slide, I think is about what Mark is. But there are two reports that I'm gonna give you. The first one is the census report. For us, that is our 20th class day of the semester, which was February 18th.
18.
Yeah, okay. And then the second half of the report is going to be about our IPEDS data feedback report. And IPEDS is the Integrated Post-Secondary Education Data System. We have to submit reports throughout the year. They're required for Title IV financial aid. So we have to submit those. And so we get back from them a comparison report so that we can see how do we compare to our peers. So that's what we're going to talk about. Okay, so the first thing, when we're looking at census, the first thing that we always look at in strategic services is headcount and credit hours. So how are we doing as far as our number of students unduplicated and how many credit hours are we generating? So for this census, for spring, we had 3,793 students, 35,076 credit hours. So then the next question is, how does that compare to previous, right? So compared to spring 2024 census, we're up 346 students, which is a 10% increase over last year. 3,603 credit hours, which is an 11.5% increase. Feel free to stop me if you have questions. So what are our trends? In perspective, how does that compare to where we've been? How are we trending? So Dr. Bates had asked for a 10-year trend. So that's what this represents. On the left, we have 2016. On the far right, we have 2025. This is head count. So you can see, and I'm going to show you credit hours in a minute, but you can see the trend, how it's gone down, down, down. And then finally in 2023, it turned and we're heading back up. And I put some boxes on there just to show we are now above what it was in 2020. So that's the highest we've been in headcount since COVID, basically. So we are up 18 more students in headcount. How does credit hours look in that 10-year window? Credit hours, you can see the same sort of trend line shape in the last 10 years, but we are about 1,700 credits below 2020. So we're still not at 2020 credit hours, which Keith will tell you that's where the money's at, is the credit hours. But the trend is up. So that is great. You can see that since 2023, we've been going back up. How do we compare against national and state benchmarks for the census data? So this is just, I'll just try to quickly orient you to the graph just to get you an idea of what it is. It is showing on the bottom left, 100 days before census, 80 days before census, 60 days, and so on. So all the way over to the right is where did we end up in our percent change over the previous year for census. The blue line is State Fair Community Colleges trend. And then the black line is national community colleges. And then the green line are the 8 rural Missouri community colleges. So those include Crowder, East Central, Jefferson, Mineral Area, Moberly, North Central, St. Charles, and Greenwood. So you are above our rural Missouri community college peers, as well as the national community college. So good news. So if we were to drill down a little bit further, comparing to the rural Missouri community colleges, what is our percent change from last spring? What is everybody else's percent change from last spring? So what is their increase, decrease, or whatever? So this is head count, and I've listed them in descending order by percent change. So this is saying their numbers compared to their last spring numbers, what percent change do they have? We are the only, and I got Jeffco. I didn't have that Tuesday when I presented to ELT. Darcy actually got it for me. So we are the only community college, rural Missouri community college, that has a double-digit percent change increase. The only rural Missouri community.
But also the.
Oh, the other ones too? Okay, I don't have all the other ones. And I got this from the Missouri Community College Association Research Council folks. So that's, it's not published anymore. Anyway, so that is great news. Well, how does that look for credit hours? We are up 11.45% over last year in credit hours. And again, we are the only Missouri Community College rural, and I guess even urban, that had a double-digit percentage increase over last year. There were a couple that were down just in credit hours. Again, that's where the money is, your credit hours. Three Rivers and Mineral Area. The rest of them were up, but not the extent that we were compared to last year. So that's good news. Okay, so the next few slides, we're just going to look at a breakdown of our students, kind of different characteristics, demographics about those students. So for residency, we charge different tuition rates, which you guys are going to look at approving changes in those. We charge different tuition rates. 68% of our students for spring this semester census were Missouri resident. That's out of district. So they're paying a little bit more than the in-district folks. 29% are in-district, 1% foreign, and 2% out of state. So that means that 97% of our students are Missouri students. Of those, does anybody, I'm going to ask before I put it up there, does anybody know how many counties there are in Missouri? ELT can't say.
Oh, come on. 114 or 15.
114 plus the city of St. Louis.
So
There you go.
114, if you're just looking strictly at counties, but yes, we have students from 77 counties represented at State Fair Community College. We have a 14 county service area. So to me, that's pretty cool. We have that many. 68% of the Missouri counties are represented. Okay. Then if you're looking at, are they full-time, part-time students? What's that look like? I'm going to show you on this slide, breakdown by head count, and in a minute, I'm going to show you by credit hours because the proportion is not the same. I was surprised to see when I did the calculations, 56% of our students are part-time. So if you were to just look at the average student walking around, they're going to be a part-time. They're more likely to be a part-time student than a full-time student. Do you think that the proportion is the same in credit hours? So the number of credit hours taken by full-time students versus part-time. Not going to be the same, right? So this pie is going to look very different if you look at their credit hours, right? Because those full-time students are taking a lot more credit hours. So if you look at the credit hours, 67% of those credit hours are taken by full-time students. How does that compare to last spring? Exactly the same proportions. It might be like 0.1% different, but with rounding, exactly the same on both sides. So no changes there. How am I doing, Mark? Am I keeping it?
Doing okay.
Okay.
A little bit behind you.
So if you look at the gender of our students, 67% are female, 33% male. Probably 15 or 20 years ago, that was more 60-40, but we keep moving it toward the female. So if you look at last spring, it moved again from 66% female. Now we're at 67% female. So the trend is continuing more to the female side. I added this one for Keith, so hopefully this one answers what he wants to know. Online versus on-ground students. And I got the definition from Nancy as to who gets charged the online credit hour fee. So head count, if you're just looking at head count, what proportion of our students take on-ground only, online only, or both? That doesn't tell you the money piece, but you can get a sense that it's almost, a third, a third, a third. They're either all online, all on ground, or both. But we're still skewed toward the on ground only side. Credit hours, 43% of our credit hour generation are online. So that's and again, I don't know if that's in your tuition package that you're bringing, right? But that's one of the things online campus students and other couple caveats get charged an extra fee if it's an online course. So what about degree seeking status? This one also surprised me. 62% of our students are degree seeking, but 38% of that 3,793 are not degree seeking. We're going to talk in a minute about what those categories are and who would fall in that. But it really surprised me that we have such a large proportion of our students that are non-degree. So how does that look compared to credit hours? What do you think? Do you think the distribution is going to be similar or different to the head count? Substantially less credit hours in the non-degree side. And you'll see why in a minute when we look at the next slide. It's because those non-degree students are typically like visiting students, personal interest, or dual credit. So we're going to look at that a little bit more, but first, how does that compare to last spring? How do those proportions compare? So we are trending a little more to the non-degree side since last spring, 1%. But it's similar to the gender, where we're trending more and more toward the female. We are also trending more and more toward the non-degree as part of as a mix of our enrollment. So I found that interesting. So if we look at those 62% degree seeking and the non-degree seeking 38%, what proportion of our students are represented in each of those groups? So let's look at the degree seeking first. And I left the 0.1% on there just so that you could see the distribution, because international is only 0.6%. But so continuing or returning students make up the majority of our degree seeking students in the spring. If you were looking at fall, first-time freshmen would be substantially larger proportion, but since it's spring, continuing and returning is our largest percentage of headcount of the overall SFCC headcount. International, 0.6%,
transfer in 3.1. Who are those non-degree seeking 38%? Who are those folks? Dual credit / dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment, whatever the correct terminology is 36% basically. And I'm going to show you a slide in a couple slides that is going to show you some of those trends over the last 5 years related to those dual students. Personal interest is 1%, visiting is 0.7%. When I was sharing this with my family last night, they're like, what is visiting? What does that mean? I said, well, when I went to UCM, whenever I was a student at UCM, in the summer, I would take classes at State Fair and I was a visiting student because it's commute from home in Lincoln and come up here and it was cheaper and I didn't have to live in Lincoln. So I was a visiting student, right? So that's what a visiting student is. So that makes up the head count distribution. What about credit hours? Yes.
Just a curiosity, do we know on that 35% of dual credit, how many actually become a State Fair student full-time?
I think that, and I don't know if Jim is here.
Track that.
Jim and
I couldn't spit it out. Yes. And that's an area that we know that we have to do better in matriculating those kids over.
Very manual tracking.
Yep.
And so we're actually, we could get you that information. We're gonna be having that next.
I was gonna say, I know Jim said that Christy was presenting next week.
Next week, so we could follow up. with-
Okay.
Good thing to follow up.
Just curious how many stay and continue education.
Yeah, considering they are 36% of our students. I mean, that is and it continues to grow.
Basically, yeah.
It continues to grow.
Yeah.
So how does the credit hour distribution look in both of those degree seeking and non-degree seeking students? Returning is our largest proportion of credit hours, 71% basically. And you can see the others there. And then on the non-degree side, even though those dual credit, dual enrollment students make up 36% of our head count, they account for 19% of our credit hours. That's because they're taking 1 class, 2 classes, and so on. Because they're not necessarily full-time. Some of them are, not all of them. My son is, he's one.
So if they come in with enough credits, would they be considered continuing return or first-time freshmen?
It would be considered first-time freshmen because the definition is first time in college after graduating high school. So first-time freshman could be somebody who stopped out for a few years and came to us for the first time, didn't go to college after high school. Yes. First time. Okay, so what is the distribution of the degrees sought? And we know that our students seek multiple degrees. Some of them might declare stackable certificates. They might declare an AAS and an AA. So this is looking at their primary declared degree that they're seeking. And this is only that degree seeking bucket. So it's not including those non-degree students. So 57% are seeking their Associate of Arts. 5% the Associate of Arts in Teaching. 1% the Associate of Fine Arts. I put the 0.3% on there. It's going to add up to 100.3% because that, just because if I rounded it, it would say 0% on the Associate of General Studies. The Associate of Science, 2%. Professional certificate, that would be like your professional nursing. We have professional certificates in automotive and all of our AAS programs. It's 2%. ST means skill certificate. That is a 1 semester certificate, 2%. And then Associate of Applied Science is 25%. So I'm going to throw this up here. So if you add those up, our Career Tech and Health Science, that's the AAS skill certificate and professional certificate folks, is 35%. Gen Ed and transfer looks like 65%, but one caveat that I do want to throw out there when you're thinking about that is we have a significant number of our students who are pre-health students waiting to get into nursing, dental hygiene, rad tech, sonography, and they fall in the AA category there. So it does, you know, give you kind of a unfair representation if you just look at it purely at those first. Any other questions so far? Okay, age. What does our age breakdown look like? So traditional age students, we classify anybody less than 25 would fall in the traditional age bracket. 25 and older would be non-traditional. So for us, The majority of our students are those traditional folks, 24 or younger. If you look a little bit closer at their age, what does that look like? We have 25% of our students that are less than 18. It's probably a lot of those dual credit, high school students. 58% are 18 to 24, 10% 25 to 34, 7% 35 to 64, and this will add up to 100.2 because of the rounding. I put the 0.2% for the 65 plus folks. So our students are traditional age students for the most part. So I promised that we talk a little bit more about dual credit, and I added this in because ELT was asking some of these questions. For spring, we have 1,360 dual credit students. Again, I said that makes up almost 36% of our head count. It makes up 19% of our credit hours overall. The breakdown for those, they're going to be paying different amounts based on where they take those courses, simply because if they're online, they're going to be paying I think it's $15 additional credit hour for dual credit if it's online. If it's at the high school, they're paying, I want to say $79 a credit hour, something like that. If it's at SFCTC, over there with Eric Raymer, I think it's free. Is that right? If they're taking it concurrently, like they are just coming to State Fair and taking it on campus, I think it's this flat $79 per credit hour as well. So that breakdown makes a difference as far as revenue. So the largest percentage of them are either online or at the high school taking their credit hours. So what do the trends look like over the last 5 years? I put 5 years worth on there. So the bottom row is spring 2021, top row, spring 2025. So second column, the number of dual credit, I abbreviated it to DC, dual credit, dual enrollment students, has grown from 919 in spring 21, 1,360 in spring 25. And Dr. Whitehead mentioned that in between spring 23 and 24, they had done some streamlining in Slate, I believe.
Steve moved away from the paper applications.
So
So all of those kids are able to get in and be admitted and be enrolled a lot faster.
if you have those efficiencies, it allows for accommodating more students. So, but we have grown as a proportion of our overall headcount from 28% to nearly 36%, which is outstanding. It's phenomenal what Christy and I think Kaylee have been able to do. So credit hours, we've grown from 14.5% of our overall credit hours to 19%. So with all of those various characteristics, what does our typical student profile look like? Where do we have, just to kind of remind you some of the things that we already looked at. Missouri resident out of district, that's going to be our primary student. 68% of our students are that. 56% of them are part-time. 67% female, 62% degree seeking, 54% continuing returning, 58% of that 18 to 24 age, and then gen ed transfer is 65%. But again, remember, a lot of those students are waiting to get into the certificate and AES programs as well. So, okay, so just some highlights to recap some of the information before we move into the iPad side of this. Headcount and credit hours are up 10% and 11.45% respectively. State Fair is and I put on here only rural Missouri College was a double-digit percentage increase, but apparently my friend Keith over here has discovered that of all the community colleges in Missouri, we're the only ones with a double-digit percentage increase over last spring. That is wonderful. We're ahead of the national benchmark as well in our percentage increase, and our dual credit enrollment continues to grow. And I put dual credit, but that also includes students who come here to take classes that are still high school or students at the CTC who are still in high school. All right, now for the fun part.
Fun.
You paid.
You're still on assignment.
Okay, so the next portion is about the iPads data feedback report. Remember, I said we submit those reports throughout the academic year on various things. It can be library, it can be endowment, finances, human resources, student financial aid. It's all the whole spectrum of data about State Fair. In this report, where I'm going to show you the comparison, it is those same 8 very rural community colleges that I had mentioned earlier: Crowder, East Central, Jefferson, Mineral Area, Moberly, North Central, St. Charles, and Three Rivers. So that's when you look at the comparison group, that is who is represented. So on this one, so if you look at this, just to orient you a little bit, the dark green represents State Fair Community College's result. The kind of diagonal lighter green presents the results of our 8 comparison. So on this one, this is saying tuition and required fees. I can't talk anymore. Tuition and required fees in district. How have we done since 2020 compared to those peer institutions? And you can see every year on this chart, we have been lower than those other 8 community colleges. So that is, something significantly to be grateful for.
Because of the inclusion of State Fair's number in the 8, the actual difference from the other 7 is actually greater.
Okay, so then what is the average net price? This one is for students who are grant and scholarship recipients. So you can see that our average net price, except for 2021-22, has also been lower. One thing I forgot to mention, because this is U.S. Department of Ed data that we submit, and we're getting the comparison group, it is lagging data. So it's not like the latest, greatest information like the census number. So forgot to say that. So percentage of students receiving financial aid. Again, we are slightly above our peers in federal Pell Grants, 50% versus 49%. Federal loan, 17% versus 14%. But then what about the amount of aid that those students receive? So on federal Pell Grants, they're receiving slightly less dollars on average than our peers, but loans slightly more. Okay. And then graduation and transfer. I don't know if Jim has shared transfer data with the board yet, or if he's going to. I don't want to step on his toes. I could skip past some of those slides if he is. Okay, so looking at our iPads cohort, that's our first time in college, full-time freshmen, probably 3 years after they start. So my son's going to graduate in May from Lincoln, and he'll be here in the fall. So he will be a first-time freshman in the fall. 3 falls later, what happened to him? Did he graduate? Transfer? Did he not? So that's what this measure looks at. So for those first-time in college students who were full-time, they're freshmen. Did they graduate? Did they transfer? And then or not? So graduation rate, graduation takes precedent. So when we're calculating them for iPads, they say if they graduated in that 3-year window, count there first. If they did not graduate, look to see if they transferred. So when you see transfer out rate, that's not all students. That's saying of those first-time students who didn't graduate, did they transfer? So that it's important, I think, to look at that, because if you go 9%, only 9% of our students transfer, that's not what that is measuring. It's measuring something. We're below our peers on the transfer rate, but there is good news. Remember I said the data are lagging. If we were to look at the 2021 cohort, our graduation rate is 44% and transfer out rate is 13%. So we're trending the right direction. I want to dig a little bit deeper in that. So the next couple of slides are just going to give you a little more trend history on the graduation and transfer. Remember I said for iPads, they're counted in the graduation bucket first, the yellow on the screen. If they're not a graduation, then we look to see, are they transfer? Did they transfer to another school? In there. So because of the way that that's calculated, if we're graduating more students, typically we're going to have an inverse relationship on the transfer rate because we're putting them in that bucket first. So you can see over time, bottom line is fall 2012, the top line is fall 21. So on the grad rate, we had 22% of our first-time full-time degree-seeking students that graduated in fall 2012. So that's that bottom of that yellow. If you look at the top of the yellow, we have significantly grown the graduation rate up, doubled it, 44%. So we are graduating more of those students. But then because we count them in the graduation, we can't count them in the transfer. So you can see kind of an inverse relationship on the transfer rate. At the bottom, we were at 22%, top, we're at 13%. How does that affect our overall grad or transfer rate? Well, these two numbers, grad and transfer, because they're not double counted, they're only counted in one bucket or the other. You can add them together to get your total grad or transfer rate. And you can see that over time, we've gone from 44% up to 57%. Somebody asked me why there was a big jump from 51 to 57%. I can't tell you for sure, but I was told that the registrar's office a couple years ago did some degree audits and data mining to find who was close and to really work to get those students to graduate. So that might have caused a bump in our numbers. So how do we compare to our peers on these? So again, the yellow columns are showing our peer, those 8 community colleges, our peer rates, each of those. So to the right of the grad percentage is the peer rate for those 8 community colleges, to the right of the transfer percent, peer rate, and so on. So that you can see at the bottom of each of those, we've gone from 22 to 44 on grad. Peers have gone from 26 to 39. Because of lagging data, we don't have that last data piece for our peers. So we are ahead of our peers in the grad proportion. Transfer rate, we've gone from 22 to 13. So we've gone the opposite direction. Again, remember I said it's kind of an inverse relationship though, because we're finding more of them in the grad. Peers, 18% to 15%. So we're still not quite at what our peers are. But if you look over at the last column, because you add those two percentages together, because they're not double counted, you can see that we're really close to our peers overall. And the most recent data, which we have that doesn't show our peers, we're at 57%. So we're in the ballpark or maybe ahead of our peers. So that's good news. The next couple slides, I'll try to orient you here. This is just showing of those first-time full-time students over 8 years, what happened to them. On the left-hand side, it's broken out, and this is just the way IPEDS provides it. It's broken out by Pell recipients. On the right-hand side, non-Pell recipients. How do we do compared to our peers? On the Pell recipients of those full-time, first-time students, we're pretty much on par. On the non-Pell recipients, we're a little bit below. So this is just showing you over the 8 years, what proportion graduated in 4 years, in 6 years, in 8 years, how many are still enrolled, or how many transferred to another institution. So if you look at the next slide, I'm going to show you the part-time cohort. So I want you to remember here that we're doing pretty well compared to our peers on the full-time cohort, but the part-time cohort, that's the students who were first time in college and did not take 12 credits or more their first semester. How are we doing compared to our peers? So on these, we're not doing as well. And Darcy, our Executive Director of Strategic Services, asked me to go back and look at the last 5 years on these data points. And all 5 years, we were not doing as well. Except for, and I can't use the pointer, but, or I can kind of, except for on this one, last year, we were ahead of our peers. But this year, for the first time in those 5 years that I looked, we are ahead in both of the transfer categories. So our part-time students, I don't know why, but our part-time students are transferring more than our peers. So it's interesting. And I'm a data nerd. I like that kind of stuff. Oh. Okay, so a couple of core revenue pieces of information. On the left-hand side, how are we doing compared to our peers? And Keith concurred that we are getting a bigger proportion of our revenue from tuition and fees as compared to our peers, I think, right? And then on the right-hand side, if you look at it, and that is per full-time equivalent enrollment student, our dollars that we are using, are getting, you know, kind of mirror exactly what you're seeing on the revenue sources on the left. Keith, is there anything you want to add on that one? I defer to the experts. Okay, the last one. This is the celebrate slide, because it shows the tremendous work that has been done by our foundation at State Fair Community College. I know Mary says it's not me, but even though it was a solid foundation before she got there, she has continued that and maintained that wonderful asset for State Fair Community College. So this shows endowments per full-time equivalent student. State Fair is $12,266, but those 8 peer community colleges is $3,561. So we are significantly above those. And so I think that's something that we should celebrate and know that it's just a tremendous asset for our students, because it's a great source of tuition, or not tuition, but scholarship dollars and all kinds of things that are provided to State Fair that we might not have otherwise. All right, what questions do you have? That was my last slide. I know you're probably like, oh my gosh, I'm tired of data, but I think it's great. Okay. Right, Lisa, I'll give this back.
So next on the agenda is FY 2026 tuition and fee rates. After hearing Becky Rose's report, we should know a little more, shouldn't we?
For the past couple of meetings, we've discussed our budget, we've discussed some of the uncertainties in funding, and then looked also at various scenarios for tuition fees. So as a result of that, I'd like to recommend the Board of Trustees approve the following tuition fee rates for 2025-2026 academic year. In district residents, it will be $133 per credit hour, $4 increase. Missouri resident, but out of district, $203 per credit hour, $7 increase. Non-Missouri resident, $273 per credit hour, $9 increase. Dual credit at $79 per credit hour, no increase. In our tiers, which are some of our technical programs that are more expensive programs, the tier 1 tuition increment will be $30, which is the $5 increase. Tier 2 tuition increment will be $80, a $10 increase. The tier 3 tuition increment will be $130 and $15 increase. Tier 4 increment $245 and a $20 increase. We have one common fee only. The common fee is technology fee at $45 per credit hour. It will have no increase. Additionally, the military rate covered individuals under the 38 section veterans benefits, including Whiteman Air Force Base personnel, their spouse, and dependent children that do not meet the in-district residency requirement is set at the board-approved Missouri resident rate. Additionally, the technology fee is waived for online, on-ground, and hybrid courses for the military-related students designated herein. So they will pay technology $1,000. that. So it's recommended that the tuition and fee rates be effective beginning in fall 2025 through the summer 2026 semester.
Great. Motion.
I think the motion that we approve as presented.
Any other questions? As you say, this is information we've looked at, we've shared, and we've had time to discuss, so. But if you have any questions or discussion. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No same sign. Motion passes. Next is the FY 2026 Occupational Therapy Assistant Program.
We are part of the Missouri Health Professional Consortium. Within that consortium, we participate in 3 programs with I think it's 4 or 5 other community colleges. So we'll go through each of them. The OTA program is actually we're the fiscal agent for that program. So it resides here and we're in it. So we'll look at the FY 2026 Occupational Therapy Assistant Program. These rates were set by the Missouri Health Profession Consortium. So the Missouri Health Professions Consortium has set the charge. So the way this works is we charge a certain fee to the student, and then the chargeback fee, a portion of that is charged back to the consortium to run and fund the program. And the differential, the college that's hosting that keeps some of that fee for them. So the chargeback fee for the OTA program for 25-26 at $223 per credit hour. Based on the recommendation by the MHPC, the fiscal agent, State Fair Community College, collects the tuition and fees for the OTA program, calculated at the chargeback fee, times a 28% upcharge, round to the nearest dollar, results in a tuition rate of $286 per credit hour to the student. It's recommended the Board of Trustees approve the tuition for the OTA program as shown above. On approval, the tuition fees will be effective for the fall 2025 semester through the summer 2026 semester.
Dr. Murders, Dr. Bates, interject, so I want you, if there's anything that you need to share, you jump right in there. So,
Thank you. No, we're just glad to be part of the consortium. As we know this, even though it's set different rates, you can imagine it goes through 5 different schools, 5 different boards of trustees, and 5 to accept all this. So a lot of work goes into it, and from a fiscal standpoint, a lot in Keith, but also in Alston's folks do a lot of work to make sure oversee this and to work with all the schools to keep this rate and as low as it can be. So a lot of kudos go out to her folks as well.
all right, so I'd entertain a motion for the approval of the tuition and fees for this program.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any other questions before we vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, motion passes. All right, FY 2026 Respiratory Care Program tuition.
This is a new consortium program this year. So we're very happy to be part of it. It's respiratory care. So the Missouri Health Profession Consortium has set the chargeback fees for the respiratory care program for the 2025-6 year at $217 per credit hour. Based on the recommendation by the MHPC, the fiscal agent, in this case, East Central College, collects tuition and fees for the RC program, calculated at the chargeback fee times a 28% upcharge, round to the nearest dollar, resulting in a tuition rate of $278 per credit hour. Recommended the Board of Trustees approve the tuition for the RC program as shown above. On approval, the tuition and fees will be effective for the fall 2025 semester through the summer 2026 semester.
Entertain a motion for the approval of grant tuition.
Moved as presented.
Second.
Any question? Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, motion passes. Next is the FY 2026 Medical Laboratory Technician Program tuition.
The final consortium program, the Missouri Health Professions Consortium has set the chargeback fees for the MLT Medical Laboratory Technician Program for 2025 to 2026 at $276.73 per credit hour. And based on the recommendation by the MHPC, the fiscal agent, in this case, Moberly Area Community College, collects the tuition and fees for the MLT program, calculates the chargeback fee times a 28% upcharge minus the nearest dollar, resulting in a tuition rate of $354 per credit hour. Recommended the Board of Trustees approve the tuition for the MLT program as shown above, and upon approval, the tuition and fees will be effective for the fall 2025 semester through the summer 2026 semester.
This program is presented.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Now it's the FY 2026 full-time exempt positions.
The duties of the board is to approve all full-time positions in the college. Positions are included in your packet. In this case, those are the same positions we have right now. There are no new positions in that. And should we have a new position be decided upon to be added, that would come to you at a separate board meeting. So there's no positions added versus what we already have in there. So pending final approval of the FY 2026 budget, recommended the Board of Trustees approve the full-time faculty, exempt, administrative positions as presented. The new positions, which there are no positions to list, been included in the FY 2026 budget development process.
Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any questions for Keith or Murders or anyone? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. This is then for the next item on the agenda is employee compensation for FY 2026.
The various budget discussions we've had, we've looked at various compensation scenarios for our employees. We looked at what the trends are in inflation rates and of our get jobs for our faculty and staff. With that in mind, we propose or recommend the following compensation package for FY 2026. It's recommended the Board of Trustees adopt the following compensation increases for fiscal year 2026 for employees in good standing and hired into their current positions before February 1, 2025. For full-time faculty, provide a 1.6% increase to the current faculty salary base for 168-day, 100-day, 180-day, and 184-day contracts, and also provide a one-step advancement on the updated salary schedule unless they're already at the maximum step for faculty eligible for a step. These together equate effectively to a 3.5% increase between the steps, which is around 1.9%, and the base increase of the 1.6%. That gets them to 3.5%. Concurrently, non-instructional full-time staff, a 3.5% increase. Permanent part-time classified staff, a 3.5% increase. Adjunct faculty, an increase in compensation to $675 per credit hour, which is an increase of $50 per credit hour, which is an 8% increase. The faculty overload rate, that is for faculty teaching here who then teach additional classes to that compensation for those additional classes, an increase of $700 per credit hour, also an increase of $50 per credit hour. And then other adjustments as appropriate for educational attainment, professional development activities, job reclassification, and or equity. The above compensation package has been taken into consideration in the development of the fiscal year 2026 budget. It's recommended the Board of Trustees approve the compensation increases pending final approval of the FY 2026 budget.
Motion.
So moved.
Your second.
Second.
Any comments, questions, discussion?
Excuse, Madam President. Do conflicts for you.
All right, thank you. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign. It passes, one abstain. Missouri Educators Trust.
One of the primary benefits to our employees is our medical benefits package. In that package, we fully pay for each employee's medical premiums, their dental premiums, and their accidental death and dismemberment life insurance premiums. Part of that, we belong for several years to a consortium of community colleges and other independent school districts in the state that was known as the Missouri Educators Trust. This year and we're on the board of that, the board of the Missouri Educators Trust made the decision to merge or to join an additional consortium known as the Missouri Education Health Group. Gave us access to a larger pool of individuals, a much larger group, which allowed us to get much larger rates and also have more stability in the actual consortium we were part of. So we did join that. We're asking your, I guess, approval to join that, and with that come the rates that you'll see henceforth from this. So on March 4th, 2025, the Board of Directors of the Missouri Education Health Group voted to dissolve the MEHG and join the Missouri Educators Trust. I probably said that backwards. We're in the MEHG. We're going to join the to provide and administer SFCC's group health plan, dental insurance, vision insurance, and AD&D and basic life insurance plans. On March 7th, 2024, MET formally offered membership to State Fair Community College into MET. Recommended the Board of Trustees approve membership in MET, and the President and Vice President of Finance and Administration be authorized to sign any and all agreements with MET. So,
Entertain a motion. Any questions? I mean, I think we've had this discussed before, but any other questions that want to come to mind?
Same recusal regarding voting.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Now, FY 2026 group health plan.
in your board packet, there is a table in there that outlines the medical health plans that were available in FY 25, and then the new plans that are available this year. You'll see in gray, last year we had a base plan, which is what every employee is paid for. We pay that amount for every employee. There's a buy-in plan, and then there was an HSA plan involved. The base plan for employees, which had a deductible of $1,500, and then a maximum out of pocket was $6,250, and State Fair Community College paid $827 for that plan. The new base plan with, and that was through United Healthcare. And we're going to, with the MET, is through Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, or Anthem Blue Cross. So we were changing carriers, but it has effectively, it has the same network of doctors, hospitals for the most part. And the base plan there that we're offering will cost the college $804 per month versus the $827 per month prior. That plan has a little bit higher deductible of $2,500, but has a lower out-of-pocket cost of $5,000. On that, they're essentially the same. So we've capped the out-of-pocket cost at a lot lower rate there. There are other plans available. There are buy-up plans that change, that makes your deductible. You can make your deductible lower with a buy-up plan, and your out-of-pocket lower. And there are two HSA plans available. One that has a little bit lower out-of-pocket cost. The other one, which is a little bit less expensive, has a higher out-of-pocket cost. So we have some things people can look at and trade off, but the base plans are what the college pays for, and the others are options available for the employees. So overall, that will result in less cost to the college for what we consider to be same or better care plans than they have right now. So it's recommended the Board of Trustees accept the proposal for health insurance through Missouri Educators Trust at a board paid rate of $804 per month for each full-time employee, which this represents a 2.8% decrease to the college from FY 25 rates. MET is managed and serviced by Gallagher Benefit Services in Springfield, Missouri. The coverage is provided through Anthem Preferred Care Blue. Proposal plan includes a base option, a buy-up option, and two options with health savings accounts.
I would entertain a motion to approve the group health plan.
So moved.
Second.
Any other questions, discussion?
Third recusal.
Thank you.
Correct.
Good, you do, that's right. All right, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. And so next on the agenda is the FY 2026 A, D, and B basic life insurance.
Accidental death and dismemberment and basic life insurance coverage for our employees paid for by the college. This provides $100,000 of basic life insurance and a D&D. It's recommended the Board of Trustees accept the proposal from Missouri Educators Trust for accidental death and dismemberment and basic life insurance for fiscal year 2026. Plan would be through MetLife, and the board paid rate for each full-time employee would include accidental death and dismemberment rates of 12.6 cents per $1,000 coverage and basic life at 1.4 cents of $1,000 of coverage. So a total of 14 cents per $1,000 of coverage. Rates reflect an increase of 1.66 from the prior year.
To approve AD&D and basic life insurance.
So moved.
Any questions, discussions? Thank you, Tim. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. FY 2026 dental insurance.
Dental insurance. Recommended the Board of Trustees accept the proposal from the Missouri Educators Trust for dental insurance for fiscal year 2026. The proposed plan would be through MetLife. We're currently in healthcare. This will go to MetLife. The board paid rate for each full-time employee is $33.72 per month. The proposed family rate is $99.59 per month. These rates reflect an 8.4% increase from FY 25, so it's still a little bit. There's also a buy-up plan option, which offers an employee rate of $43.56 per month and a family rate of $149.73. So $33.72 is what the college will be paying per employee.
Entertain a motion to approve the dental insurance.
So moved.
Your second. Any discussions or questions?
6.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Same sign, motion passes. And next on the agenda is the FY 2026 vision insurance.
Well, the college does not pay for this, but it's available to the employee for if they choose to use it, and does get favorable rates through our membership in MET. So it's recommended the Board of Trustees accept the proposal from Missouri Educators Trust for vision insurance for fiscal year 2026. Proposed plan would be through MetLife. The rates would be $7.61 per month for employee coverage, $15.22 per month for employee and spouse, and $16.98 per month for employee and child coverage, and $25.82 per month for the full family coverage. The vision plan is optional and is paid by employee. These rates reflect a 35% decrease from FY 2025.
Vision insurance,
So moved.
questions or discussion?
I think I could vote on this, because it doesn't cost anything, but I'm gonna refuse just to be on the safe side.
Okay, I'm not sure either. Thank you very much, Tim. All in favor, say aye. Okay, fine, it passes. Next on the agenda is Health Sciences Expansion Change Program.
A little cleanup this month. There's been a few, we've gotten into renovating Tech 2 for the health sciences program. As you can imagine, a 40-plus-year-old building, once you gut it, you find some things you weren't expecting, like concrete that is kind of wiggly and wobbly and other random things. So we've done a few change orders, actually not very much. The changes we have are in your packet. That they are an aggregate amount of about $12,000 so far. And the Board of Trustees approved change orders 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the aggregate amount of $11,840.58 from Septagon Construction for various changes to the health science expansion project. Funding source is State of Missouri MOIC Sales 2025 grant funds.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Your second.
I'll second.
Any discussions or questions?
So the reason we're approving this, even though it's under the amount, is
Want to keep you informed of change orders to a project that in and of itself is well over that amount. so that you're aware, and then since we are using, honestly, so if you're using grant funds, I'd like to be sure everyone knows, so everyone's aware of what has and hasn't occurred with the project, regardless of if it's a penny or a whole bunch of pennies.
Anything else? All right, all in favor, say aye. Motion passes. Now the athletic complex architectural services, or this will be for information service purposes only.
We are in the midst of preparing for a new outdoor athletic complex. We, a few months ago, hired a firm to help us with that. We have elected to not continue with that firm and go with another one. So for recommendation by the president and vice president of finance administration, Insight Design Studio has been released as the architectural service provider for the college's outdoor athletic contract. For terms of the contract, all monies due to Insight for service performed have been paid. Ownership of all work product done by Insight has been transferred to the college. Just letting you know, we've closed that out. They've been paid. We've gotten all the work, and that has been used with the new firm to help out. They said they are able to use it. So that then following on to that,
Yeah, complex architectural services.
so with them gone, we went through a fairly rigorous interview process of several other firms. We found a firm that we felt their qualifications, in our queue request qualifications work very, very well. So it's recommended the Board of Trustees approve the selection of Mammoth Sports Construction LLC of Meridian, Kansas, for architectural services to include but not be limited to concepting, planning, schematic design, construction documents, and construction administration for the proposed college athletic complex. This contract was awarded through the purchasing cooperative at Greenbush and meets the requirements of a competitive procurement service. Further recommended the president, the vice president of finance administration be authorized to proceed with contract negotiations with Mammoth to determine the specific scope of work, deliverables, timeframe, compensation, and other items that may be required for the contract. Furthermore, it's recommended that upon negotiating a satisfactory contract, president and vice president of finance administration be authorized to sign any and all agreements with Mammoth for the project, form those acts as necessary to carry out and perform the terms of the agreement. Funding source is the SFC Foundation with funds specifically directed to this project.
Need a motion to approve?
Move.
Second.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye. The same sign. Motion passes. And now well, it says on our here, president's report, it is the vice president we have tonight with us, Dr. Murders. Here is share with us.
Yeah, Dr. Bates should have a little more hair on who he picks to put up here, so there's no telling what I'll say. No, really, first of all, it is, I enjoyed the opportunity to be here and have a stage, if you will. And so I kind of deviate a little bit, presidents is really thank all State Fair employees. I think you all heard tonight, saw through our numbers, you see things, what great things are going on here. And we are running 100 miles an hour. We'll say that. I think you all know that. But our faculty, staff, employees, every one of them are. We're at a point in the semester. It's probably the toughest point. We're trying to finish, but we're. I don't know. It's going so well. Don't want to jinx it, but you see the results of all the hard planning. We're working on strategic planning, master planning. We've redone program reviews. You see the expansion of our budget process. And those are just the high level things. And then all the things that go beneath that to be successful. So first, I just wanted to publicly get to say thank you, because that's what Dr. Bates would do. But second, and just as importantly, is to thank you all as a board. Tonight, you approved some things, you focused, we heard, and for those who listened, hopefully the message gets out, the support that you all have in us as employees, and the recognition that you see and some of the things I just mentioned. And so that means a lot. I mean, we came to you with a proposal and you increased it. So as the state fair employees recognize the support that the board does. So I do want to publicly say thank you. So I'll get into the real deal now. One of the other notes that's not on here, but I was going to just mention so you all know, we are with that in mind of all the great employees. We have are closing out a process of identifying our outstanding employees of the year. So we have that event. We'll see that on the calendar in a few minutes, but faculty of the year, instructor of the year, adjunct of the year, and staff of the year. So that process is actually completed this afternoon. So I know who they are. But we will, that's coming out and that's a great honor. And so it just highlights kind of some of the comments I said. You all have your calendar in the packet. As you know, we have a few things going on. I sure would hate to make Mary mad at me if I didn't mention Saturday night. We have the gala. Looking forward to it as it's my first opportunity in 3 years to get the, feel really bad saying that, but she's gonna expect me to give 3 times as much. So we'll have the gala. The signing day is coming up on April 9th, as you all, and I know some of you all attend these events. Another one, I wanted to make sure you knew of the student art show is on April 10th. That's always a great event. And then we have another Dahl Museum member reception on April 17th. Sure you all will be receiving those invites. Next board meeting, of course, April 24th. And then much later, but not much later, it's already getting up there, June 29th through July 1st, the MCCA Trustee and Executive Leadership Conference at the Lake. So there's several other things as you all see. Any questions with the calendar or events going on?
One note on that, since it's on this now on the app, could we mail it out, the calendar? Because I used to go by that. But when this disappears after tonight, I can't see it.
Good point. Jump down, let's see, do we have it on here? It is on here, so I'll go ahead and hit it as well, is commencement. Remind everyone that it is May 16th on Friday at 6 o'clock. So we've moved it up last time and that seemed to work well. So we're continuing the 6 o'clock and we will be at the Mathewson building at the state fairgrounds. We will also have the adult ed graduation the next day at 10 a.m. as we do in the Stoffer Theater. So I'm sure those are already on your calendars. Wanted to make note of those. Next on the list was our strategic planning, and many of you are part of that and know this already, but we have, and I may ask Darcy, but we have our strategic planning community forums. You want to say something, Darcy?
In conjunction with Community College Month in April and the strategic planning process, we have a number of opportunities for input from the community, from the college employee community, from all of the communities where we have campuses located in Benton County. We have many opportunities on the schedule for community members to provide us some feedback and some insight on some kind of what if scenarios that we've been building over the last month or so with something called strategic foresight. They're not necessarily, it's not a multiple choice. Do we want A, B, or C? It's an opportunity for individuals to take a look at different kinds of imaginative concepts that we have for the future of State Fair and say, you know, what resonates, what sounds good, maybe what doesn't. Then we will pull those together in early May to come up with a visionary concept of what we want the future of State Fair to look like. And from then, we'll start building the framework of how to get it.
It's always be good if you attend one, especially with the community forums. We get a feel for what the community is saying about State Fair and the future of the college,
yes,
in the community. the folks who've been working on strategic planning are internal. And so this is our opportunity to get some extra feedback and comment. So it's important to be able to listen to the community as to help make some of the decisions that need to be made going forward. In Becky's presentation, she showed some numbers. Well, some of the things we've been talking about are really going to have a significant impact in the numbers that she's presented if we decide to go in that direction. So I think it would be important for us to attend at least one community forum.
I think all of you probably have a copy. We can get you the dates. We are already on April 2nd, right here on campus, and have several on campus, but we're also going to obviously our extended campuses, including Jefferson City, going to Benton County. That's still being worked on if I'm not, as far as I know, and several other places. So as we said, we're hitting the region. Service areas. Appreciate it all.
We're spending some time at Cotton High School, gonna gather some information from teacher and the college students on what kind of things they're looking for. I will talk to our Student Government Association and perhaps some other opportunities for state fair students to weigh in. So we're trying to get a very broad spectrum.
And other superintendents from other schools as well on our tech ed side, especially. So. Thank you, Dose. Finally, it says Federal Financial Aid Office, but really what this is about is we all know the uncertainties that's going on federally, driving state changes and things like that. And so again, as I mentioned, this is a tough time of year. Having that kind of pressure, many people, are concerned about DOE going away, what's happening here, Pell Grants, a lot of our grants, people are paid under this. So we know there's a lot of better word, uncertainty. But we tell our folks that, we're looking at it. We're all very much staying aware, but there's not a lot we can do other than, plan ahead until it happens. So we're trying to deal with those things. But as an example, with the federal financial aid, for instance, we know an office, our office that supported us in Kansas City closed. We were in our certification for financial aid expired this month. And Angel and her team have been working with them for a period of time and had it down to 2 minor issues to get it cleared, to be recertified. Angel calls, that person no longer has a job and that office is no longer supporting us with some quick turnaround and SOS type communication out there. We were able to get diverted or sent to an office in Chicago with some talk. Again, Angel and her folks did great. Got us some support in Chicago. She even gave us a secondary point of contact. She lost her job in this process, but Angel worked through. We wound up having, I believe it's 40 things that came up they decided we need to do, but they jumped through the hoops, got those out. They were obviously pretty minor, and we got the, I think, official president signed it official today. So we are recertified within our time. We're good to go for 5 years, as Dr. Wade reminded me. So it's those kind of things that our folks realize we're just having to watch for the falling rocks, and then we're ready to move and go. So I just wanted you to be aware. Those are the kind of things. Again, we have a great team ready to do those things, and so that's just kind of the environment we're in, and we're always kind of watching as you all help us do that as well. So we can do this as a team to include our board, and we appreciate you. And my report. And I wish I could tell you if Dr. Bates is Jackson's winning or losing, but I haven't heard yet. So
Thank you, Dr. Burders, for that report. All right. Any questions, Rand? Now we're ready for the financial report, which of course is informational only.
So the report for February 28th, 2025. Most of you can give what I'm about to tell you as well, but month continues, the year looks strong. One thing I will point out that I think we became aware of very early on is that our local property tax collection will probably be 200,000 less than mentioned here. Because when this is put together, we weren't aware that some of our assessments will be lower, but there's obviously more than enough to make up for that in here. Our expenses continue to be right on budget. We're 67% through the year here, and we've spent 67% of our expense budget, which is where I expect us to be. This was the reason I last month asked you for additional approval for spending this year that you graciously gave us, and that we've been doing that. A lot of good things are being brought on board, so that's been good. I see no reason that this would not continue through the year and end up financially very strong. When you see 10.5% enrollment increases, 11.45% in credit hours, regardless if they're dual credit or not, those things add up. They create excitement. They feed on themselves, and it trickles down to strong financial performance. So, long way of saying that we're having a good, strong financial year that allows us to do the things that we need to do to continue to support the students, the college, and the staff, and put that money back into those things. So, we're really glad to be able to do that. And then, well, this year we had a couple of board purchases between 10 and 25,000. We had to repair a residence hall shower, actually more than one, but showers for about $14,000. Then we replenished our AC filters on campus as well for $13,800. Any questions about the report, anything at all?
All right, now, next on the agenda is board discussion. I'm going to just have a few things on there. The ACCT Leadership Conference, which is held in October in New Orleans. If we're supposed to make sure we let Lisa know if we're able to go. I think just pretty much heard from everybody. Maybe someone not so sure, but you know, if things change, because of the early registration. I don't know that I saw it yet open, but it was close. MCCA Trustee and Executive Leadership Conference is in.
It's 29th through July.
So again, if you're able to go to that, Lisa needs to know so that she can make the arrangements for us. Is in Arrows?
No.
Oh, that's another. Those are, oh, Camden only. Camden only. Things in St. Charles, what is that going to be?
The MCCA.
NCSCA conference. Yes, you're right, in November. So be sure and let Lisa know if you're able to go to that. Anybody have anything with board discussion that you want to share?
I would just like to throw kudos out to Coach Collier and her team. I thought it was pretty cool. I saw the Facebook post the other day with all the staff and students watching. And I'm going to steal a little bit off of her post, but Region 16 champs, most wins since 2010 and 2011 season, first national tournament since 2013, 2014, and back-to-back 21 seasons. And I watched part of it. Commentators gave a lot of love to State Fair. Kudos to Coach Collier and her team and staff for what they did there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was that. Great job. Anything else? Dr. Bates was in one of the music concerts, did an awesome job, reading JFK's speech while the music was being played. It was awesome. So I know we have still another one, President's Concert, coming up on the calendar. So I don't think he's supposed to have a, really think about a singing part, we had a singing part last year, but anyway, I do remember seeing that. Don't forget, it may be too late to get in on the weekend events, but maybe Mary could find you a chair to sit if you.
Seats left.
All right, so if you haven't made that commitment, or here's somebody in the community that maybe wants to come and didn't know about it. Anything else on board discussion? All right, so it looks like our next board meeting, as mentioned, for the general session will be held Thursday, April 24th, 2025 at 5:30 here in the Hopkins Boardroom. And so that looks like that's at the end. We are now ready for the closed session. And after we come out of closed session, we'll immediately then adjourn because we don't have any other items on the agenda. So I would entertain a motion to go into closed session for hiring, firing, disciplining, or promotion of personnel pursuant to RCMO section 610.0213.
Second.
The roll call.
Amy Bashir,
Yes.
Ken Carr,
Yes.
Justin Hunt,
Yes.
Reach,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
and Patricia Wood.
Yes.
All right, so some of you may need to grab a little bit